already there. Now it's just a matter of applying it with teammates and with detail and with repetition to try to apply those reps so we can start projecting, what not only he can continue to improve at, what are the areas we need to focus on, how can we craft this offense to make sure that we're doing the things that he does well naturally while also challenging him to grow that pot of inventory that we can ultimately pull from.
Do you expect any limitations with him once y'all are back on the field?
I don't.
Ooh, let's stay on this for a quick read brought to you by Ego. Mina, with McCarthy healthy, are they done at the QB position?
No, I think they could add another quarterback. Problem is there aren't that many quarterbacks available at this point in terms of veteran free agents or trade options. One name I would throw out there, Sam Howell. He's not veteran per se, he's only been playing for a few years, but that's someone the Seahawks might make available. One of the Giants quarterbacks, Jameis Winston, potentially. They could also look to add someone later in the draft. Is Tyler Shuck a veteran? No, they're not going to take Tyler Shuck. I do think that everything the Vikings have done this offseason suggests that they're confident in JJ McCarthy returning from health, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't continue adding veteran depth.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to talk about just JJ McCarthy specifically rather than, this never-ending back and forth. I want to really look at what Kevin O'Connell said because he said what I've been saying, especially specifically last offseason going into this last season about all these young quarterbacks and how it's as a coach, you're always trying to figure out how good any player is, but especially a rookie quarterback, how good they are, what they're good at, what they're comfortable with. How do we improve upon that? How do we make what they do really well even better? And how do we then figure out what they need to work on? And again, trying to figure out, can we evolve that? Can that improve? Is that something that actually is just going to be kind of who they are, a liability, so to speak, and we need to kind of minimize that? Are there other things that we can add part of the game? Like I think he said, like kind of, grow the pot or something. He kind of phrased it in a way that I never personally heard it phrased before. But that's the process that they are with JJ McCarthy. And I'm glad he kind of brought that up because truthfully, that's what they missed out on last year. That was kind of part of the problem with JJ going down as early as he did. That whole process got shortchanged. And when we're talking about developing a young quarterback and have them, get settled and comfortable and settled, like that's the stuff that really matters. Someone said when we were talking about JJ McCarthy, some of the time that he lost last season, someone said, yeah, but he was in all of the he was like at all of the practices, film study, all the meetings, et cetera, observing. And like, that's all true. That's definitely true. But without a shadow of a doubt, what was really kind of cut short was just the coaches evaluating JJ McCarthy and not trying to figure out, is he good, is he not, but just trying to diagnose him, trying to figure out again, let's say we have these like 5, pillars, these 5 categories of how we're going to evaluate you on. We don't have a clear picture right now. We know what you did in college and all that. That's fun and dandy. But like, again, it doesn't matter. It just no longer matters. It really doesn't. You can use it kind of as an inspiration and a jumping off point, of course, but the NFL is the NFL. And so that is what they, that is the time that they legitimately lost. That if he was at least sitting but healthy, he would still have practices. He would still be doing the work. He would still be, developing his game. And he obviously was unable to do that. So that's where all the focus is going to be on. That is why it's exciting when you have a good up and coming quarterback get into their second, third year, and why I think that you're so less likely to have a sophomore slump when you're legitimately in a great coaching situation, because that coach is going to continue to develop your game. If you happen to have like a great rookie year or great first year as a starter, if you don't have a great coach, then a great coach doesn't really know how to build off that, or a great coach also doesn't know how to get ahead of it, where it's like, hey, listen, this was one of your limitations. I saw it. Better believe that defensive coordinators saw it. They're going to get after it. We got to evolve. We got to grow. We got to expand here. So I really think that you see less sophomore slumps when, obviously, one, if the team's just better, but then also more importantly, from my viewpoint, is more about the coaching staff itself. And so again, with Kevin O'Connell and JJ McCarthy, this stuff is just kind of delayed. And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean that they're not going to have success, but this whole process is delayed. Like, JJ McCarthy really is a true rookie. Like, this is not like equivalent to him sitting out for a season and it's like, oh, well, now he got to kind of learn. So he got a little settled. He got to know what it was like to just like be at NFL games, like part of the program. He got to see what it's like to travel and do all that type of stuff, because again, it's obviously things that he's done to a degree in college, but it's just not at the NFL level. The speed of the game, the intensity of the game, the style of preparation. But again, when you get your surgery and get your, and go through the recovery process, like, that is really where majority of your time and energy is taking place, right? Like, healing your body is pretty energy intensive, and it's just completely different from when you're fully healthy and just not starting. It really is. It's just a different mentality, and a different level of engagement entirely. So that is going to be some of the delayed growth that I anticipate to see with JJ McCarthy. So yeah, that's why I'm expecting kind of growing pains. I'm expecting him to potentially have a fair bit of success. But I still think, like, going into this season with JJ the starter, you definitely have to accept and acknowledge, like, yeah, like this is a rookie quarterback. To try to look at him anything beyond that, from my viewpoint, is not fair to JJ, honestly, and it's not fair to the coaching staff. Like, they have to figure out, because they essentially had to just abandon JJ. Once JJ went down, it was like, we don't got to figure out anything else about JJ. It is all hands on deck on Sam Darnold and maximizing that player. There was no longer, hey, we're going to develop JJ now. Like, that just all got paused, all to the side. And now, really not until now are they able to now start to kind of really be like, okay, where did we leave off from last year? That you have to kind of refamiliarize yourself with this whole process with this quarterback, because it really does. It becomes kind of compartmentalized. And ask any player who's been like a leader on the team and then has been injured, they'll all say the same thing. Like, once you're injured and you're not playing, like, it's just different. Yeah, you're kind of trying to talk to people in the locker room, and you're even in the huddle on the sidelines and stuff like that, but it's just different. You get immediately disconnected from the team. And the coaching staff have to look beyond you. The players have to look beyond you, because you're either on the field or you're not. You're either out there with us or you're not. It really is. It's you're in or you're out. And when you're out, you're out. So again, this is just kind of part of that whole process that Kevin O'Connell and JJ McCarthy and the rest of the coaching staff and the players, quite frankly, like the other players that are actually going to be working directly with JJ, on a more regular basis, like even, receivers, line, whatever, like all of that has to kind of, re-come together. So, it's going to be an interesting process to see. I wish they were doing like a Hard Knocks, honestly, with Minnesota, because that would actually be pretty fascinating, to kind of see that development, kind of a little bit closer than we normally have access to. I'd love that. Maybe they will do that. Who knows? To me, that would probably be my favorite team to do the Hard Knocks, because I'd kind of love to see that reintegration, see that process, see how they can kind of use the limited information that they had last off season and kind of try to build off of that. But yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting process for them all. And again, it's the major benefit of having Kevin O'Connell as your head coach. If that's like Mike Tomlin, Dan Quinn, I can't think of many defensive coaches off the top of my head, then like, it's just different. It's just a different energy, different understanding. Someone like Kevin O'Connell has to now just look to his offensive coordinator and be like, yeah, like, and you're just now you have this like extra level of separation that you're now just kind of, relying on someone else's experience. Now, this is directly Kevin O'Connell's experience. This is directly Kevin O'Connell's responsibility. And he's obviously earned that responsibility, earned that trust. So it is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the biggest benefits you have of having a legitimate, true, bona fide offensive head coach, that dealing even with now this type of process, this type of roadblock that the Vikings had with JJ McCarthy, becomes such an easier, more smoother transition. Not to mention, let's say, and I'm not saying he is, but let's just say JJ McCarthy is really slow to kind of develop here because of all the other stuff, which again, I'm not saying that's not a prediction. I'm just saying, let's say that that's a reality. The benefit is that your head coach sees that. He evaluates that. He's responsible for trying to figure out is this accurate? Is this inaccurate? You know, how can we move past this? What is the decision we need to do? Again, if he was like a defensive head coach or just more of like a walk around head coach, he's like has to kind of like, you know, have a lot of conversations with the OC, be like, what are you seeing? What's the problem here? And then you're relying on your defensive head coach to make an incredibly important decision about the offense. And it just gets messy. We've seen this over the years again and again and again. So that's why I also think this process should be a lot smoother, quite frankly. So I said this even before they really kind of finalized any of the deals with like moving on from Sam Darnold and Aaron Rodgers, you know, all that stuff. I'm like, to me, I'm just so fascinated to see the decisions that they make, because it's pretty much all Kevin O'Connell's decision, and Kevin O'Connell's decision is what's going to tell you, you know, all you need to know. You know, like that is the answer. So I love the clarity that the Minnesota Vikings have from that coaching perspective. And again, make no mistake about it, not all teams have that. Even teams that are really successful, quite frankly, even teams that have obviously won over the years or more recently, they don't even always have that. So do not take that for granted, Minnesota Vikings fans. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Minnesota Vikings and JJ McCarthy, and kind of how this whole process is going to unfold for them? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.